Hey everybody, it's Rick. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be making 8 cards using products from the Bayfair Collection from Spellbinders, which is also by its collaboration with Rosie's Studio. This is the paper pad. It's the Bayfair designer paper pad. You get 40 sheets of 6x6 paper. 6 of those are have floral accents, and you get 40 sheets, like I said, but there's 2 each of each design, so you get 20 of each, or 20 designs, and there's 40 sheets. We're also going to be using some of the Bayfair cardstock ephemera, these die-cut ephemeras. There's 136 pieces in there, and I did not barely even touch them. We're also going to be using the fresh pick sentiments for all the sentiments today. For card number 1, we're going to use a sketch from Mojo Sketch, or Mojo Monday. It's Mojo Sketch number 539. And I have picked out my pattern paper that I'm going to start with my card base. All my cards are standard A2 size cards. I've decided to use a navy, and it's white, navy, and almost white. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks, there's some white in it, but it's kind of a tone on tone. We're using that for our background. I'm going to add this other tone on tone piece of green pattern paper to the left side of my card, and I'm going to put this 1/2 inch strip of pattern paper. It's a blue and white with the little dragonflies. I'm going to put that across the bottom. I'm taking one of my floral ephemera pieces, and I'm going to pop it up onto foam squares or foam dots, and I'm going to take all those little backings off, and I'm going to put this on the card front. That's going to be the focal image of our card. I used all the die cut ephemera pieces as focal images and accents. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up. I need to move it up just a tad. I've die cut the sentiment, Make a Wish, and this is from the Sherbert paper, smooth cardstock from scrapbook.com. I've just cut that out using the fresh picked sentiment die set. It says Make a Wish, so I've got put my make right there. I'm going to add my little A. I'm going to kind of stagger them a little bit so that they would fit on the card. So we're going to go ahead and put the wish on here, and I'm just dotting a little bit of liquid glue on there. And we're going to pop that on, and then I'm going to make a little spot for our tittle, which is the dot of the eye. So we're going to use our Trinity Stamps embellishment wand to pick that up. Pop that down, and then we're going to add one of the die-cut stamps at the top to take the place of the banner that's on the sketch. And then I'm going to embellish with some dragonflies that are foil accent dragonflies. So I don't know why I can't say that. So I've added 3. I had one large one over next to the floral and a small one next to the sentiment. I'm going to add another large one, or a small one, up at the top. There's a look at the first card. Here's a closer look at that card. For card number 2, we are going to use a sketch from also Mojo Monday. This is Mojo Sketch number 509. And I've taken a piece of the pattern paper. It's a blue on blue, tone on tone pattern. It's a floral pattern. I've cut that to 4 by 4.25 by 5.5, and so it takes up the entire front of the card. Added that to the front. I'm adding a little piece of that same pattern to the inside of the card and cut off the excess. So I'm going to flip that card over and cut the excess off of the other side. Now I'm taking the pink background pattern with the sailboats. I'm going to add that to the card front. And you will find all these measurements for all the cards over on the coordinating blog post. You'll find that linked below, as well as all of the supplies listed in the visual supply list. And remember, if you use my links, they are affiliate links, and it helps me make a little bit of money so that I can keep this content free for all. I appreciate any time you use my links. It helps me make a living. All right, so I've added the ephemera piece. This is like the little beach house with the little bicycle. So I've added that at the top with some foam tape. And to take the place of the little rectangle pieces in the sketch, I'm going to use the seashell die cuts. I've chose a yellow one and a light blue one for this, so I've added those. I've cut my sentiment from shimmery white cardstock, and I'm going to attach that with some liquid glue right in the opening right there. And that finishes this card. Here's a closer look at that card. All right, for our next card, we are using a sketch from Cars TV. I don't have any idea what number this one is. I didn't write it down. So this is a great sketch for scrap paper. If you have scraps left over that are bigger or close to this size, it's great for that. So I've taken 4 patterns that I had already used or cut from, and I'm using those as my pattern paper layers. And I'm adding them to a piece of the shimmery white cardstock that is 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to add those 4 pieces on there. And if you notice, they have a nice little gap evenly in between them. We're going to add liquid glue to the back of this and put that onto our A2 card base. And now I'm going to bring in my focal panel, which I could have got away with just using the die cut, but I didn't. I decided to go ahead and put this on there. And that cardstock is from the Floral Smooth cardstock, in case you're wondering, from scrapbook.com. We're just going to attach our large floral die cut right to the center. And then I'm going to add my sentiment that says smile. And that is also from that same cardstock, the floral cardstock. I used that same cardstock to die cut the smile out from. I thought that would be a cute little sentiment and tie in with a little pink. We're going to add our little tittle at the top. Thank you, Laura Basson, for teaching me what that was called. And now we're going to embellish our little pieces with more die cuts. I'm going to pop up the butterfly on the floral image. And then I'm going to take 2 of those foiled dragonflies, and I'm going to add one over on the left-hand side of the sentiment and a smaller one over on the right-hand side of the sentiment. I could have got away with a third, but I did not think about it. Here's a closer look at this card. And for our next card, we are back to a sketch from Mojo Monday. This is sketch number 300. And I've picked out that yellow background pattern with I think they're postage stamps. Could be C packets, I don't know. But I've added that to the background, and it's cut 4 by 5 1/4. And then I've got some shimmery white cardstock that I'm matting that blue tone-on-tone dragonfly paper to. Or I'm adding that blue dragonfly paper to the shimmery white cardstock. And I'm going to add that to the left-hand side of the card. Now I'm going to bring in my next piece of pattern paper and my matte layer for that. And everything's cut 1/8 of an inch to 1/16 of an inch different. I've lined both those pieces up at the very bottom so that I can cut my fishtail banner for both at the same time. And that way it's going to be perfectly layerable. Layerable, is that a word? Anyway, I don't know. So we're going to add that to our matte layer. And if you notice, I have the perfect little mat around my little banner there. So we're going to attach this to our card front. And I should have added a piece of scrap paper on that right-hand side. And I realize it, so I've cut a little piece. And I'm just going to tuck it under that right side of that banner. That way everything stays nice and even. And you think I would have learned, but you will see as we add the next piece, Rick did not learn at this point. We're going to add one of the postage die cuts to that, and I layered it where there will still be a gap. So we're going to take and cut 2 pieces of scrap. This is just scrap cardstock I had on the desk. I've layered them up, and I'm going to cut them right there together to make a double layer. And I'm going to slide this under using my scrapbook.com reverse tweezers. Slide that right under the postage die cut, get it nice and pushed up in there. That way everything stays nice and flat. Now for our focal point and our sentiment, we're going to add this pink tone-on-tone paper to a piece of that shimmery white cardstock. This is the square is 2 inches. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the square is 2 by 2, the pink cardstock. We're going to pop that up on some foam dots. I'm going to add that to the center of the card. Make sure it's nice and even. I'm going to add my sentiment that is the word hi. I also cut that from that shimmery white cardstock. I'm going to add the tittle And then we're going to take one of the ephemera pieces. I'm going to add liquid glue behind half of it and a foam dot because half of it's going to stick off. And we're going to pop that on there. It's a little foiled flower, and that's going to be the look at this card. Here's a closer look at that one. I'm going to add a piece of pattern paper to the inside I forgot about. So we'll add that, and then we'll look at the card. So there's a look at that card. And our next card is from another sketch from Cards TV. It's card number 5. And this is a top folding A2 card. So we are going to add our pattern paper, and that cardstock is from the Floral Smooth cardstock. It's just one of the darker pink shades. I chose to use the pattern paper that has the birds and the little graphic pattern on the background. It's like a plaid, but it's not. I don't really know. It's got a little floral accents too also. I'm adding those little, to me this looks like a leopard print, but it's not. It's like oblong circles or washes of watercolor. So I've added that to the center. I'm going to add my focal part up there now. So I'm cutting some scrap cardstocks. Rick learned at this point to add his scrap cardstock. I remembered. We're just going to add it below and above that piece of pattern paper in the center there. That way it keeps our focal or panel there nice and secure. This is a polka dotted little pattern that has some metallic accents in it. It's navy and gold and white. I'm going to add a piece of that same cardstock I used for the mat. It's cut the same size as my pattern paper, that strip. And that's going to be where my sentiment goes. I'm going to add one of the die cut birds. This is the large one. And then I've got a large floral die cut that I'm going to use some liquid glue behind some of it and pop dots on the other side. That way everything's nice and even. And then I'm going to come in with my die cut sentiment. I've chose the word high for this card again in that shimmery white cardstock. So that's why I wanted that separation of the pink there. So that's why I did that. So it would make that stand out a little bit more. I'm going to add 2 matte enamel dots from the Rabbit Hole Designs. There's a look at that card. We are just moving right along with card number 6. And this sketch is from Sunday Sketches. It's sketch number SS004. I've cut a piece of the foiled patterned paper down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm attaching that to the entire card front. Now I'm adding my same dotted and metallic navy piece of little paper to my mat of some light pink cardstock from the Floral Smooth cardstock pack. I'm attaching that to the center of the card, and I'm going to come in now and make sure that's nice and straight. And we're going to add a couple little braces on the sides. I just need the little thin pieces right like this, and that's just some green cardstock I had on my desk that I used for die cutting. So I've just cut those two little strips. I'm going to put them on both sides of the center of the card, just tucked right in close to the mat. That way, that's where I'm going to add my pattern paper on the center, and it's nice and even that way. So I've got that blue tone-on-tone pattern paper. It's a floral pattern. I used to know what this actual pattern was called, but I can't think of it right now. So we're going to add that on, and I'm going to straighten that out. Now we're going to take my next layer, and I'm going to add that to the same matte layer that we added before, and that's at 2 1/2 by 3 3/4. The mat's 2 3/4 by 4. I'm adding some braces right in the center of where that's going to go. We're going to pop this right on that center. And remember, you can find all these measurements over on the coordinating blog post today. You can find that link below, as well as that visual supply list. If you like these kind of videos, let me know in the comments below. That way I know to keep making them. All right, we're going to pop on a die cut flower. I believe this is a peony or a rose. I'm not really sure. I think it's a peony. I'm going to pop that on with some pop dots, and I'm going to add my sentiment cut from some green cardstock, and that is from the Cool Smooth paper pad. It says sentiment is hello. I've used that same fresh picked sentiment die set from the entire cards. That way everything's super simple. I've added that piece of designer series paper. I did die cut some small circles from some shimmery white cardstock to use as embellishments, and I couldn't quite decide where I wanted to use them at on this card, so I decided to go with my first initial thought and put them right there in the top right hand corner of that focal panel. So I've added 3 of those right at the top, and it's just going to add just the subtlest bit of shimmer to the card. So I'm just going to make sure those are nice and straight. And here is a look at that final card right there. All right, so for card number 7, we are using a sketch from Mojo Monday. And this is sketch number... Where'd it go? I have no idea. Apparently, 544. So I've added a piece of green tone-on-tone pattern paper to the card, and it's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. I've added my next pattern to a piece of, this pattern has some script on it. I'm going to actually flip it over, and I'm going to cut it about a 1/2 inch off of one side because I need it to be a little bit longer than what I originally cut. So this is my fix for this. I cut a little bit short. I needed it a 1/2 inch longer, so I'm going to extend it and no one will ever know. So I've put my bigger piece on the right-hand side of the card. I'm going to put my smaller piece over on the left-hand side at the same border size. And then I'm going to take the next layer, which is a tone-on-tone pink striped pattern, and I'm going to layer that onto a piece of green cardstock, the same green cardstock I've used this entire card. And it is cut at 2 1/4 inches by 4, that matte layer. And I'm just going to add that right over where that gap is, and no one will ever know it's there. For my next pattern, I'm adding this beautiful floral pattern to my mat. It's 2 3/8 by 3 1/8. 2 2 1/4 by 3 is the matte layer. I'm sorry, it's the focal layer. And then the mat is 2 1/8 by 3 2 3/8 by 3 1/8. I can't read my own writing. So we're going to attach that down the center. I've added those braces underneath there, and you can see I cut it a little bit too long, so I'm just going to take it up and cut it off a little bit. And no one's ever the wiser. It's nice and braced under there. Now I've got a 2 it's not quite 2 1/2, but pretty close. It's probably 2 3/8. Shimmery white cardstock circle, if Rick could talk. I'm going to pop on one of the floral die cuts with this beautiful vase pattern and some of those peonies on there, and I'm going to add my sentiment cut from the light pink cardstock, and it's just going to say hello. And then I decided I wanted a little bit more bling, so I'm going to add some of the Prism ABC rhinestones. I added 2 at the top right of the sentiment and 3 at the bottom left of the sentiment to finish off that card. And here is a look at this card as we add the piece of paper on the inside. Rick keeps forgetting that we're doing this. I do it a lot. I do it half the time without even putting it in the video. So I've added them to this video. There's a look at this card, and there's a closer look at the card. All right, so for our final card, we are using a sketch. And I did not write down where it came from. So I'm sorry about that. This was the one that I accidentally flipped when I printed it out. I printed it in reverse. So all my measurements were backwards. I had to go and figure it out. I've added that pink striped pattern paper to the center of my card front. And then I've added that floral pattern onto a light pink matte layer that I'm putting on the right-hand side of the card. I've got my tone-on-tone pink layer here that I'm going to add to that same color pink cardstock. That is from the Sherbert Smooth paper pad. And I'm going to add a little brace right behind my, right up against that focal image on the right-hand side. I'm just going to tuck that right in there. That way it's nice and even, my little panel there. So I'm going to add liquid glue behind there. And then I'm going to come in with my die cut piece. It is a little flower shop with some cute little plants and gold accents everywhere. So I'm going to pop that up on some foam dots. And you will see, once you see the sentiment, you're going to understand why. So I'm going to pop that right in the center of that square. And then I'm going to put in my sentiment. I've done the word bloom from white shimmery cardstock and then one from pink cardstock, and I'm going to make a drop shadow. So I'm just going to layer the white one on top of the pink one and slightly offset it just a little bit so that it has a nice little drop shadow behind, and it'll make the sentiment stand out just a little bit more, and it ties in our pink a little bit. It's those little subtle accents that really can take your cards to the next level. So I'm going to add my sentiment. And then I'm going to add 3 little die-cut pieces of little flowers that have their gold accents. So I'm going to take and put those 3 at the top. I'm going to start the one in the center and add the one on the right and then the one on the left using my Trinity Stamp Pickup tool. And I'm going to move this around to make sure they're nice and lined up. And that finishes off this card after we add our piece of pattern paper to the inside. I think I just used one of the striped patterns. And Rick had a little trouble here, so I had to fix this. That barely art glue, y'all, it grabs. So just know there's not a lot of wiggle room, depending on how much you put down. But I did get it straightened out, so it's okay. And there is a look at that card. And here is a look at all 8 cards that we have made today, starting using the Bayfair pattern paper and the Bayfair ephemera cardstock ephemera pack. So there's look card number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. I'm sure these are not in order. I know they're not in order because they're all out of order right here. But that's okay. So you can see, and I still have plenty left over that I can make more cards with. So just grab you some sketches and pick this paper up, and you can make all kinds of fun floral summery cards. And I will see you guys in the next video. There's a look at all those cards. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time. See you later. Bye, guys. Love you.